Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you? I'm
Good,
like, oh my
good.
God, where did she go?
Yes, no, I know it took a moment.
I know. It was like, wait. But I'm very excited to have you here today. This is Vanessa de Jesus Guzman, you guys. She is going to be talking to us all about mental health. As you know, or those of you that don't know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I wanted to close the month with Vanessa. I've been following her. I'm so inspired by her story and what she does. And I asked her if she wanted to come on, and she said yes.
Thank you. Thank you for having
so,
me.
so a little bit about Vanessa. Um, she's a board certified licensed therapist. She's a speaker, a mom coach, and host of the Free to Be Mindful podcast. With over 20 years of experience working with thousands of children and families, Vanessa has been featured on the Today Show, Univision, and Parents Latina. She's the CEO and founder of Free to Be Mindful and Amiga Moms, plus co-founder of the Latinx Practice Collective. Above all, she's a devoted wife and mom to an 11-year-old, 11-month-old, and a golden doodle therapy dog. Vanessa, thank you for being here with me. You know, there's like, you just keep adding to your things. You do a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's years amounting, right? Didn't happen overnight.
Yes, you do mention that you have over 20 years of experience. So tell us a little bit about your journey into therapy and mental health. Or like, what drew you to this field?
Yeah, so I didn't start off, it's not my first career. I actually started off as a second grade teacher, and I loved being a teacher. Yeah, you may not have known that. I loved being a teacher, and I always say, like, I was put on this earth to help kids because it's just what comes naturally and what my heart is there to do. However, there's only so much you can do in the classroom, and they want you to teach about math, and I didn't care about math. I wanted to like teach about like social emotional wellness and make sure that the kids were okay. So that's what led me then, after 4 years of teaching, to become a school counselor. Again, just thinking like I can still help kids out in within the school. And I remember when I was getting my master's, there was a school counselor who was an adjunct professor, and she was going towards her LPC, which is a licensed professional counselor. And I was like, well, that's a no-brainer. Like I can work in a school and see like a couple of kids like after
Mhm.
school and then get home and have time for my family, and that would be great. And it took a long time to get there. I mean, like probably 9 years altogether between like taking additional classes, postmasters, and you need 4,800 hours as per the state of New Jersey to become a licensed therapist. It's a lot of work to finally get there. And when I did, it was at the start of COVID or so. And then when I was actually going to work as a school counselor and then seeing kids after school, and then I'd get home drained and tired for my own family, like by 7 o'clock at night. I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
this is not sustainable. This is not what I want to do. Because I wanted at this point in my life, appreciated that balance as much as you can get, which we can talk about too.
Mhm.
And not just like, spend all the time at work and giving towards other people and their families. Like I needed to put my family as a priority too. So it was
Yes.
at the end of 2021. Yes, 2021, that I was like, okay, that's it. I'm stepping away, taking the leap of faith, opening up my own business. And then I took off. I mean, I started doing it part time beforehand, but it was January 1st, 2022, that I was doing this full time and didn't have that salary that would come no matter what. Now it was like, if I was going to do well, it was going to be on me. And if I failed, that was going to be on me too.
It was gonna be on YouTube, but I understand. I taught too. I
Okay.
taught art, and I started with little ones, and I was a paraprofessional because I went back to do my postbac, and they paid for half of my
Okay.
grad school, and then I started teaching, but I taught high school. I taught graphics and drawing and all different things. And I realized I'm like, I want to help kids. I want to give them that like creativity, especially artists. Because as a Latina, I didn't have a lot of art teachers that looked like
Yeah.
me, that were Latina, so I wanted to be that. But in the classroom, I realized like I can inspire them from outside, right? If I do it myself. Now, unlike you, I quit and I was not part-time, nothing. It was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I just left. And it was like, okay, Laura, figure it out. So I always tell people, don't do that.
No, have a
If
plan. Have a plan.
so don't do a Laura. Like, don't just quit, Have a plan if you had a part-time and then you went. So for me, it was a little different. So, and everybody's journey
Yeah,
is, and I love, and a teacher is always a teacher, no
no matter
matter
what.
where we go, because we have that in
Yeah.
us. Um, and I love that you share so much about, mom and children, and especially that you're a Latina. And how has mental health, how have you navigated with that with our community, and especially moms? Because I feel like moms do so much, right? And we have so much going on, and there's so much weight, especially like having a
Yes.
family and then working, and there's so many things. How has working with our community and with moms been for you?
It's a lot, and it started definitely within my own household. I mean, my mom is amazing, but I remember, and she would always have like more than one job, sometimes more than two jobs. But I remember sometimes, depending on her schedule, she would get up at, I don't know, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, be making like rice and beans, like whatever guisado, like everything was on the stove, cooked before she had to go to work so that we can go to school. And by the time that we got home, there would be a hot meal and dinner would be already done. And I remember thinking about that as a kid, like, that's bananas. Like, and I still, and my husband, thank God, like, he's really okay with ordering out. And sometimes we have Cheerios for dinner. And even with our kids, it's kind of like, all right, like, it is what it is. But I just remember thinking, like, she poured so much into us and into her kids and our family, which I admire. And I love my mom so much for that. However, that's just not how I wanted to spend my time. And going into like being so career focused and then having from one profession to the other, I knew that I wanted to help people, but also like not be in that space within my own family because I knew I wanted to also engage in self-care. And if I wanted to go to the gym or if I wanted to get a manicure or whatever have you, I didn't want to worry about, well, what were we going to eat? I can't because we have to eat. And yes, everybody has to eat, but we just go about it in different ways. So we have to order out, then we'll
Mhm.
order out. So that's kind of like what I went into being a mom with that mindset that I appreciated it, but I also wanted to make time for me, and then doing different things with my family and not just worrying about like what were we gonna, dinner at 5 o'clock in the morning. So all that to say, now when I work with moms, I really focus on helping them out because what I've noticed, and it
Mhm.
started with as I was getting my hours, I used to work for an agency. And of course, I had all the Latina moms because they give all the Spanish speaking people those cases, obviously. And I remember
Yes,
going into a specific household and I was there for the little boy. I was there for her son. But this mom, like, se desahogaba, like, she would just go on and tell
yes.
me about her stuff. And there was one particular day, like, I don't know what happened, that she just broke. And I couldn't even have the full session with her child because at that point I had to help her because she was just like in an ocean of tears. And at that point I was like, I can be here for the kid for the 1 hour a week, but if nobody's helping this mom, then it's going to trickle down and not help the kid either. So then what are we really doing? And that was November 2018. And that's actually when Amiga Moms was born because I was like, I need to do something to help these moms that may not necessarily be therapy. Because to answer your question head on now, with our community, it's hard because therapy is like para los locos, right? Like it's only crazy people. We're not
Sí, para
crazy.
los
Like,
locos.
yeah,
Mhm.
like we don't need that stuff. But really, I mean, mental health, everybody has physical health, everybody has mental health. And we really need to take care of that. And especially as moms, to take care of ourselves so that we can show up the best way for our families and for our kids. So that's when Amiga Moms was born. And I wanted to focus on a space that I can kind of like sprinkle in, like little nuggets of mental health, helping moms while not providing therapy full on because I couldn't because I wasn't fully licensed at that point either. So taking my personal experiences and then the experiences professionally, that's kind of how I went into this space of wanting to help kids, but also wanting to help moms. And it's not always easy because again, that stigma is a huge roadblock.
It is a huge roadblock. I've been in therapy. I'm an advocate for therapy. It's helped me tremendously. I wish I had started earlier. I share it with my family, and I'm a big like you need it. I
Yeah.
tell them I'm like, yo, listen, even therapists have their
Oh yeah,
therapists
we have
because
to.
we don't have it all
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And it's we have there's so much trauma, there's so many things going on in our lives that we don't understand, and to have somebody that's neutral, that sees it from a different perspective, that may not necessarily have the same patterns, be born with the same things. It's different because for us a lot of things that are normal, right, in my family, that doesn't mean it's healthy. Right, it does not,
Right.
that's not what that means. um, but it is. I always tell people that the people that go to therapy and and go through it, they're courageous, because you with therapy, you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable, to really open up, and to really look deep inside.
Yeah.
And not everybody is willing to do the work.
Yeah.
And it's a long process. It's not like I'm gonna go see Vanessa y en dos sesiones ya.
Fix
No,
bippity
it
boppity
doesn't.
boo.
Yeah, it doesn't happen that way. So with Amiga Moms, you answered my next question. Is a support group, right? For moms, you help them. Do you meet once? Like how can, if there's a mom here that wants to join, that wants to learn more about it, how can they um join, or is it
Yes.
how does it work?
Yes. And before I answer that, I want to say also about therapy. It's hard work. It's
It
hard
is.
work because, again, the therapist is not there to fix you. It's really you being open enough to learn skills because the therapist is going to teach you skills to then help yourself out. And that's really hard. So, yes. And thank you for sharing that about yourself too. So, because not everybody is like, ready to take on therapy, and sometimes people just don't have the access to go to therapy,
Mhm.
that's where Amiga Moms comes in, and it's a look different throughout the course, that I've since I started with the idea in November of 2018, and then it was in May 2019 that I called it a social. It was really a conference, but who wants to go to a conference on a Saturday? But it was a social. We were learning, but there was mimosa, there was rice and beans, like everybody
That's
was
it.
fed. You walked
That's
away
all
with a
you need.
swag bag,
Mimosas and rice and beans.
and everybody was like happy, to like just be in the space with
Yes.
other women that understood like the load that moms carry, while having a good time and looking great, right? So that was like the first Amiga Moms thing. And when it started, it was a monthly, back then I used to call it a mindful meetup. And then I changed it to real mom talks just to kind of speak to moms where they were at. And it was on a monthly basis. But then March 2020 came and we all had to lock down and the world changed. So we did do it virtual for a while, but the feel was different. I feel like it's just something different when we're in person. And then I went and over the age of 40, got pregnant and now have now this is the only month I could say I have an 11-year-old and an 11-month-old at the same time, which is
Yeah.
bananas. So I had to put pause for a little bit. But what I do offer is still the real mom talks that happen about on a monthly basis. Hour and a half, you gather, meet in community, you get to like unload a little bit, but also get support from
Mhm.
one another. So it's not like group therapy, it's just a supportive space. And then beginning this month, I actually just started mom coaching, which is different from therapy in the sense that in therapy, you're working with a diagnosis, right? You're helping whether it be
Mhm.
anxiety, depression, like whatever have you. In coaching, you're not working with a diagnosis, and it's very solution focused so that you can help the mom out exactly with what she's going through, very action oriented. And the
Mhm.
relationship just gets to be different because with therapy, there's just so many like ethically and laws that we have to follow. I could only serve New
Mhm.
Jersey. This, I can serve anybody in any capacity, and we get
Anybody.
to know each other on a different level. So, community, support group, and mom coaching is what Amiga Moms offers.
I love that. I love that because um, women are we're different. We're wired different. We need, and
Yes.
I think we need that. They're like I'm a business owner, and like I go to women groups, networking groups that are women only because it's different,
Yeah.
right? And it's always great to hear somebody else's story or somebody unload because it's like, oh, okay, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
No estoy
No.
loca, right? And it's so important to share and to because one, somebody else might be going through it and they'll connect with you and you might inspire somebody by sharing. But it's like it's okay to be vulnerable,
Right.
and that's what's going to give you changes. Now, I know you have a podcast.
Yeah.
How did that go about? Um, I thought about, the whole podcast, but I'm just like, what would what would you tell somebody that's thinking about it, that just thinking about it too much, and it's like,
Yeah, I keep it real with
how
people,
did?
and I will tell you if you're planning on having a podcast, know that it is a lot of work. It's a lot of work that you pour your time and energy into. It can take a lot. Like I do my own editing, I can get creative like that, and over the course of time, now I have help to help me build assets, and I started doing it by myself, and then eventually I had guests on, but it's an awesome platform, even if you're doing it by yourself, to like get just your thoughts recorded. I always think like, oh, how cool is it that, maybe when I'm old and gray and pass away, that my kids are going to be able to listen to what their mom thought back in this time. So I think of that as in terms of legacy, but it's also you get to interview some really amazing people if it's a guest podcast and you have the space to ask your own questions that maybe you wouldn't have had the space to do so should you not have had a podcast. But if anybody is thinking about having it, the number one thing I would say is it's work, but also be consistent. And even if it's like one episode a month, that's okay. If it's one a week, that's okay. But then make sure that you stick with it. And sometimes it's for a season. Like it doesn't have to go on years and years and years. If you just want a podcast
Mhm,
for one season, that's okay too.
that's okay.
And you don't need any fancy equipment. I record on Zoom, right? I started for a long time just with, recording it on my laptop camera. After a while, my 11-year-old is now, he's kind of like my business coach sometimes. So he's like, Mommy, you need a 4K camera because your graphics, like, it's not good. And he's like, you need to get your YouTube game up. You need some B-roll. He tells me I
I
need better graphic things.
know.
So they're like on it. So any
Yeah,
improvements that you see, it's thanks to my 11-year-old. So he and my
beautiful.
husband got me a 4K camera. So like little by little, you level up by like getting a mic or a camera, but you could really do it on your phone, or if you're going to do a visual on Zoom, and then put it out wherever you want. It doesn't have to look like how other people do it because I think, especially as business owners or anybody that has any creativity to them, we get stuck on, oh, but this person does it that way. Oh, but I have to do it that way in order to be successful. And at the end of the day, it has to be what works for you and what
Yes.
you're going to be able to keep up with. So that's like a major tip that I would give away.
Yeah, that's true. And like I call myself a recovering perfectionist. As an artist, as like a graphic, you want things to be perfect. They have to have a certain look. The color has to be. And I've learned throughout my journey, right, as an artist and as an entrepreneur, if you wait for it to be
It'll
perfect, it's never going to
never
get out.
happen.
Like
Yeah.
with this live series, I was like, you know what? I want to do it. I've been wanting to do it. I love talking to people. My first flyer, I knew it wasn't up to my standards. By the third one, it was fine, and then I'll keep going. I'm still working out the lighting, the tripod that I need so I can do all these things. But I was like, I'll
Yeah.
get to it. I just have
Yeah.
to get
You
there
just have to get started.
and 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 do it because if you wanted it to be a certain way, and also what you said, you have to be comfortable
Yeah.
because we're best being ourselves. If we try to be somebody else, it's not gonna look authentic. They're gonna like it's not you, so
Yeah.
it's not gonna feel. You're not gonna be able to connect with people. So I like that.
Yeah.
Before we continue, I just want to say hello to the people that have joined us. I have Nati, not 22. I have Richie, hi guys. Christine 519, Miss Essie, they have joined. Holistic Counseling Center. Thank you for joining us. Sparkle with Heidi Nicole. Carlos TCVD. Erwin, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, drop them on. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we did tap a little bit into balance.
Mm,
And that's a word that, especially as business owners and entrepreneurs, we tell ourselves a lot. Hola, Holistic Counseling
hey.
Center. um, can we balance? Is there a magic formula?
Yeah.
What do you say to somebody when they're like, well, how can I balance all this? I'm a business owner, I'm a mom, I have two kids, a dog, you know, I what do you say to that?
Yeah, no, the answer is no, no, and no. To put it plainly, right? And I'm very big. I appreciate that you said that. I'm very big on authenticity. I mean, even like talking about the podcast, the only thing that I do in real life that I don't do on the podcast is curse, right? I keep it clean because it's recorded. So
Yeah.
other than that, but like I'm myself, because if not, like it's just you need to be yourself in order to make the most out of the time that you have here in life. And when it comes to balancing, it's kind of the same idea. You make the most out of what you have. So when we think of a seesaw, and I don't even know if parks make seesaws nowadays because they're probably not like, I don't know, safe and up to code. I'm not sure. But back in the day, I grew up in the Bronx and then I grew up in Jersey. But we used to have like the planks of wood, right? With the little thing in between. And if you fell, like the jodiste, like you missed out. But it was just like the wood with the thing there. And like you either went one way or this way, right? When we think of balance and we think of, like a Libra scale type of thing, and you think of the
Mhm.
thing like this. And in motherhood, it's never like that. It's never like that. You're always this way or you're this way, and it depending on the stage of life as well. So if your kid is 3 months old and not letting you sleep, or if your kid is 3 years old and crying over a broken banana, or if your kid is 13 years old and like crying over friendship drama, or 23 years old and like, what am I going to do with my life? There's always something that is going to stress you out about your kids. That's one thing. But then about life, you're always going to have a little bit more over here and a little bit less over there. And it's just going to see and saw back and forth, but it's never going to be equal because it just never can be. So it's like that saying,
Mhm.
like you can have everything you want in life, but not always
You
at the
can.
same time. There's always just different seasons that you're going to be in and out of. So when I explained about like Amiga Moms before, there was a season where it just sat there and it was still close to my heart. I knew that I was going to get back to it, but being pregnant and having a family and then two other business, I just had to put that on the shelf, and then I'm able to go back to that with the Free to Be Mindful podcast, which, by the way, really focuses on mindful living, mental health, and personal growth, specifically for moms at that. There was a time where I was able to do 2 episodes a week. That's crazy. 2 episodes a week. And a couple of months ago, I said, I can no longer do that because I forgot how much energy and time babies take away from you.
Mhm.
So I had to
Yeah.
say it's just 1 episode a week. And then before, I used to want to do like 12 months out of the year. And now I say, no, I'm only going to do it for the school year, September to June. And in the summer, I'm going to enjoy my time with my kids and be more present
Yeah.
there. And then when the older one's at school, then I can do more things when so anyway, talking about balance, it's never a balance like this. It's always a back and forth. And when we, not only as moms, but as women, especially when we are able to, and I know it sounds bad, but to lower the expectation and to just allow the what is, I feel like then we can be okay with the disbalance of it all. And that in and of itself is finding balance. Because when we find it okay that a little bit of more here, a little bit less there, then it becomes a lot easier to be able to kind of like swallow that and accept that, accept the what is instead of forcing something that may not be the time for that. That maybe, it's just not in that season. And that's really hard for us to do as women, but it's you just show up,
Definitely.
you wake up every day and you try it again.
Yes, that's true. And I think we all struggle, like I struggle with it. And like, especially, uh, like first I moved in, I'm 39, I've never lived with anybody. I've been with my boyfriend living with him for 2.5 years. and his daughter's with us. So now I'm a stepmom and have, so it was like a lot of changes.
Yeah.
And me, I was like expecting this perfect thing. And I'm just like, I can't, right?
Right.
Because like you said, you can have it all, right? It's not going to happen all at the same time or how you picture it and expect it,
Right.
but you have to be okay with what is at the moment,
Yeah.
right? And it doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that, oh my God, like, no, it's just that's how it is. And that's okay. Um, what's next now, looking forward into, and I want you to talk about with your, because I know that you do a lot of work with kids um with your private practice and free to be mindful. I've also known that you do a lot of series with Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shields, and you help them. How can moms um, breathe, um, reach you? How can you help them with their kids? Because a lot of moms are, I work with moms, and a lot of moms are scared because they don't want, for it to go on their file. They don't know if their kid is going to get diagnosed. How is that going to affect them in the future? And I want someone to speak on that because I feel there's so many things that we are miseducated on
Yeah.
that, you know, how can what would you tell that mom that is concerned about all these things in the future for her
Yeah.
child?
Yeah. I think that it depends on where it is that you're starting, right? And if you are
Mhm,
concerned for your child, you have to think about if your child had, a broken leg, would you not take them to the hospital to see what you can do? And then would you not take them to PT to get their leg to be better until they're ready to, I don't know, play soccer again or whatever it is? We think about when it's in physical health, we think about it so clearly, like, yeah, like if I have bronchitis, I'm going to go to the doctor to get medicine. But for mental health, for whatever reason, there's that block, like, oh, maybe they'll be okay, or maybe they can just keep going, they can just push through. But what we don't realize is that when we don't get the help that we need, especially when we're young, then those are the patterns that stick and that we develop. And then what we do is we stick to like bad patterns, right? And we stick to things that don't serve us. And then we become adults and we continue to do the same things in the same way that aren't healthy for us, and then pass that on to our children. And when we talk about like generational trauma, that's exactly what it is, because we haven't found the way in order to best help
mhm,
ourselves. When it comes to mental health, again, it doesn't mean that you're crazy. And sometimes it means like I hear, especially my old school Latino people saying like, oh, well, they're not hearing voices and they're not seeing things. So they're okay. They could just like, put up with it, carry through, and they're going to be all right. And mental health doesn't mean that you're only hearing voices or seeing things. It can be as simple as your kid is starting a new school and having a hard time to transitions. You're starting a new job and you're having a hard time with transition. You're
mhm,
overwhelmed from the holiday season and you don't know how to handle your family. Your kid, as minute as it sounds to you, a friendship drama or a breakup for a kid, whether they're 5 years old or 15, that is huge because that's their
huge.
whole life. And again, you
Mhm,
want them to get the help that they need so that they develop good, healthy coping skills and patterns for when they're older. So, all to say, if your kid needs help, please get the help. And the way that you can first go about doing that is first starting off with a school counselor in school. They're called school counselors, not guidance counselors. Guidance counselors is old school and outdated, and they just used to like do scheduling. Now, school counselors really
yes.
have the education to help their kids so much more, their students out so much more. And then they can point you in the right direction. Then there's things outside of a school that maybe aren't therapy. So, for example, during the pandemic, I was sponsored by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, and I was doing the mindfulness classes, and that was just educational. That was just like, this is how, coping skills when you're really mad, this is how you get to calm down. More beneficial probably to the parents than it was to the kids. But what I find is with all my families is that people are so quick to be like, here, fix my kid. And so often, and then this is where it shifts, is that it's not just about the kid, it starts with us. Because the way that we parent and our relationships with our kids really make a huge impact on our kids' mental health. Sometimes we can't help it. Sometimes if, we're separated and like one parent is doing something one way, we can't control what's happening in that other house or with these other people, but we can control what we do. So it's not all about helping the kids. Sometimes we need help too. So that I have to like put in there because that's a big piece that people miss. So, if you take your kid to a therapist, you can, by the way, most therapists offer a free consultation call. Ask your questions. You have to like the person, right? You have to make sure
Yes,
that
you have
they're
to
going to be
click.
able, yes, to connect, to
Yes,
click
you
with
have to
you.
click.
A lot of my clients, and not all of them, but a lot of them, they are Latino because they say like we made our sessions are not in Spanish, but if you say something like, oh, why was she such a pendeja? Like I want you to understand what I'm saying, and I
Yes,
appreciate that. So and sometimes it's also like making sure that the parents are feel understood and culturally as well, so that the kids can make the best, change that they can. So whether it be for you or for your kids, always make sure that you can click with the person, that you're going to feel understood. You can shop for therapists. Call,
you
make your
can.
rounds, stalk
It's
them
okay.
online. Yes, on directory, on YouTube. Sometimes people like I've had families come in and say, "Well, we stalked you a little bit," and I said, "Good. I'm out there for the stalking in terms of I put stuff out there because I want people to know, am I
Yes.
going to be the right person for you? And I'm not the right person for everybody because I'm just not, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. But if you call me and I can't help you, I try to make sure at least to like, give you a pathway to go because I know that it's a hard process sometimes, but it's so important for you to find somebody that you feel can help you. And another thing that I'll add in there is that therapy doesn't have to be forever and it can be for different seasons. So if your
Yes.
child, let's say, is having a hard time transitioning to a new school, maybe it's just for that year. I've had kids who I haven't seen in 3 years because let's say they were going into middle school, now they're going into high school and they come back. And again, just for a certain amount of time and then they leave. It shouldn't be for like a session or two, but for a season. And then once everybody feels like the goals are met, then you move on. And that can be true for adults as well. It doesn't have to be the same person forever and ever and ever. It could be different people depending on what you're going
Yes.
through, or it can be the same
Yes.
person that you can come and go with.
Yes. You're right. It is okay to shop for therapy. I've done it. And maybe, and it's like I've done it where like insurance covers it. So it's not going to be the same person
Mm,
that I had before because now I have a different insurance.
right.
And it's okay. I've gone to two, three until I click. Because it is important because you're going to be opening up to this person. And if you don't click, you're not going to really allow yourself to
Yeah, to
be fully
benefit
vulnerable.
from it.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So I just wanted to say, Sparkle with Eden Nicole says, this is so perfect. And I thank you for sharing as a mom and wife and business owner. The mental space needs a break. She says, thank you. She also said, do you know any therapists for teenagers that recommend for teenagers? And she's looking for all of them, but not going well.
Got it. What I'll mention to you, and you can always DM me afterwards, is my third business is a Latinx Practice Collective. And what we do is we help Latino private practice owners from all over the country help get their private practice started because we go to school to be taught to be good clinicians, but we aren't taught all the business skills, right? And running a business is running a
Mhm.
business, whether you are the
Yes, it
CEO
is.
of Google or whether you are the CEO of just you, yourself, and you. So, if you have somebody that you're looking for, like with certain for a certain thing, like for teenagers, or like let's say teenagers that I don't know, maybe potentially have depression or whatever it is, what then we do within the collective, besides helping each other with the business skills, is that we cross refer to each other. So if somebody is licensed in the state, that somebody is looking for, and we say, do you work
Mhm.
with this population? And that way, and we're about to have a directory as well, and that way, that it's coming from a trusted source. And again, we're all Latinos, so that, if you're looking for somebody who has that cultural competence, then we're able to help you. So you can always send me a message and I can, put it out there to the community and see who has space, who's interested. And then there's a lot of things to factor in, like you mentioned, like sometimes it's insurance, sometimes it's, somebody who works with a specific thing. So it can be a little bit time consuming and it does take time and effort, but when you find the right person, it's so worth it.
It is. It's worth it, and it's night and day, and it's different. It's you can, like you said, it can be for a season. It's not long term. No está loco if you look for help. We all need help. We all don't have it together, even if we look like we do, because a lot of us are really good at hiding
Hmm.
our internal storms, and that does not. And it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
So thank you, Vanessa, for being here, for sharing with us all about mental health. So we are finishing, and we're coming to an end. Is there anything you want to end to the moms, to our community? Any last words for us?
Yeah, just so important to put yourself first. And I know that just generally speaking, but especially in our culture, we're not taught to do that. We make sure that everybody else has something to eat, that everybody else has a seat at the table. And if we have to like eat, stand over the counter, that's okay because we just want to make sure that everybody's taken care of. But it's so important as moms, especially, that you are taking care of you because if you do not, and if you're falling apart, whether you look fantastic, because so often of us, many of us do, right? We always look put together. But then, as you said, those internal storms, to use your words, they can be quite heavy. And even when we don't mean to, we can pass things on to our kids. And our kids are much smarter than we give them credit for, and they can pick up on a lot more than we give them credit for. So we
Yeah.
want to make sure that we are doing the best we can for ourselves. We put that oxygen mask first in order to then help our kids. And if I can be of service, whether it is in the realm of therapy for New Jersey residents or for mom coaching for anybody in the world, or even to point you in the right direction, I'm more than happy to do so because I know it's a big thing when you're not in that world, but know that you don't have to do it by yourself.
Yes, it is. And like I said before, I follow her from Mega Moms and through her practice, and she's always putting out very great tips. I have to start listening to the podcast because I was not. So I'll start doing that. But do
Yeah.
follow Vanessa. She's always putting great things out there. I'm not a mom. Um, but being a stepmom is a different role, and I'm still navigating and understanding. But so thank you for sharing, for being open about it, for helping our Latinos because it is different, and it is important that you have somebody that culturally understands you. So gracias, Vanessa.
My pleasure.
Gracias a todos por conectarse con nosotros. I'm going to be back in 2 weeks, so I will see you guys again in 2 weeks at 7 o'clock.
Thank
Adios.
you.